Hello, hello, and happy Sunday, my friends. I hope that you guys are having a fabulous Sunday. Let me know what you guys have going on today, what you guys may have been up to, perhaps some shenanigans this past weekend, and maybe what you have going on this week. So do share, do share. But before I get into it, if you don't know who I am Tara with Kitten Sweets and Tarot. You can learn a little bit more about me by checking out the information box down below, checking out my website, kittensweetsandtarot.com, maybe checking out my witchy shop plus handmade awesome items over on Desert Cauldron, all one word, over on Etsy. Maybe signing up for the newsletter, which, by the way, so Tuesday is the 1st of July, which means my newsletter comes out. And I only send out my newsletter once a month. So I don't play the spam game or anything. It's just one newsletter once a month. That's all you hear of me. I have actually a few people who just signed up for that newsletter this past week. And usually when we get towards the end of the month, more people sign up. So do sign up. I'm still putting it together. I should be finished with it today. But I was trying to include some fun stuff for July. All right, you guys. So today we have some fun stuff cooked up for you guys. By the way, I wanted to show you my shirt. Oh, hey, John, how are you? It's just, I never bust out this shirt very often, but I love it. It's Make America Goth Again. Elvira 2020. Like, I grew up on Elvira. I love her. Anyway, so we have a weekly reading that we're going to be doing, but the spread that I'm going to be utilizing is a spread that I created like 10 years ago, and it's of the patriotic sort because we are having America's Independence Day celebration on July 4th, which is this upcoming week. So after our weekly reading, we're going to go into what you guys voted on in the poll. And you guys had voted, and it was very close, but you guys had voted for channeling of America's Independence Day, just like whatever may come through comes through. So it was very close. It was connecting with animal spirits. So maybe we will end up doing that next Sunday, and then we'll do our channeling today of America's Independence Day. And apropos, because like I said, that is coming up on July 4th. John's like, ooh, vintage. I know, right? Okay, so before we get started, like I said, I want to hear from you guys. Like, what's shaking? What's happening, my homies? What's going on? We have a little bit of water. By the way, stay hydrated, my friends. Even if you are in the southern hemisphere and things are getting a tad chilly for you down there, it's always good to stay hydrated, especially when you're cold, because you think, oh, well, I'm not sweating, so therefore I don't have to take in a lot of water. But, you know, when people are cold and they're shivering, you're using up a lot of your body's resources. So you still have to stay hydrated, just like the people who are sweating their eyeballs out in the northern hemisphere. Well, not here, but in other places. Okay, so this past week, last Sunday, I got to talk about Litha, got to talk about the summer solstice, got to talk about our dog Rex, who had passed away. And we hadn't quite like finished doing up his little area that we had buried him, his little grave, but it is all done up now. And we decided to put like little fairy lights around the tree that he's buried under. And I think it just looks so magical in the evening. You know, once the sun goes down, you see his little tree all lit up. I think it looks really special. We also put a bunch of seeds, like wildflower seeds. I think we put like 6 different like flower varieties of perennials and annuals all over his little plot. And we've been watering it every day. We figured, you know, whatever grows, but it would be just like really pretty, you know, that he's rolling around in the flowers. And then one of the caliche stones that was kind of dug up. Caliche is like this really hard sediment that's almost like concrete. And they call it caliche up here. But it's like about this big. It is like in table format, and it's kind of right next to his plot. So I put one of his dog treats there. And what's nice is like it seems like the forest is leaving his little doggy treat alone. So I was like, oh. So just like a little, we could put little stuff. I guess it's like his little side table or something. So yeah, it's all done up, and it's been really nice every time I look out the window or I walk out there and see the tree all lit up. And every time we leave or come home, it's like, hey, he's just outstanding guard in front of the property. But we still see, and I still hear him, all over the place. I was like passing by the stairs the other day, and just for a flash, I saw like full on Rex standing up there, like on the landing on the stairs. I was like, whoa, caught me off guard. But yeah, you still get flashes of him, everywhere, maybe like a tail as he's like going into another room. Sometimes in the morning, not every single morning, but for most mornings, I've been hearing like the jinkle of his collar. And sometimes I hear like, the smacking of his lips he does when he's like, you know. So I kind of hear that in the morning. I've heard him bark in the morning, just one little roof. So it's kind of nice, because we've been, pretty down. We miss him very much. And it's nice to know that, he's having fun, over the Rainbow Bridge, and that he's still, part of his energy is still, walking around here and saying hello to us in his own way. So anyway, that's been really nice. I also wanted to mention that on it was the 27th, which was Friday. I'm like, wait a minute, was that Friday or was that yesterday? I don't know. Anyway, that was my grandma's birthday, and she passed away back in '96, back when I was like in let's see, this was the summer after my freshman year of high school. Um, and I was pretty sad going into my sophomore year. Like I totally messed up my sophomore year of high school. I was angry because I had lost both my grandmothers in like less than a year. My nana had passed away in October of '95, and then my grandma passed away in June of '96, and then her brother had also passed away, and then I had a friend who passed away. And so 10th grade for me, I was just like, but anyway, so my grandma's birthday was on the 27th. And so I did like a little thing for her, because my grandma was pretty badass. So I put some shotgun shells out there for her. I had a leftover cigar there for her. I poured a bottle, not a bottle, but I poured a little shot glass of whiskey for her, some Jameson, and then I purposefully put a palm tree candle because her and my grandfather loved going to Hawaii. So I found one of these picture frames that I had decorated a while back with seashells that I found in San Clemente back when I was living out there. And then the Campbell's soup can, there was a candle in there, but it burned down. I'll put a new candle in there. Okay, so there's a reason for that. So my mom and my grandma would always argue over who was a better cook. I love my grandma, but I would say maybe she wasn't the best cook. She could bake. My mom can bake, but perhaps they're not the best cooks. But so my mom was convinced that you cook everything from frozen, like frozen food. That's the best. That's what we serve the kids. My grandma, no. Canned food. Canned food's the best. And so they were always going back and forth. My mom's like, canned food isn't healthy. And my grandma's like, well, nobody wants frozen food. So anyway, that's kind of in homage to that ongoing debate that canned food is better, in her opinion. All they ate was everything out of can, string beans out of a can, freaking could eat pork chops out of a can if pork chops came in a can, like anything out of a can. She was like, so anyway, love you, Grandma. If she were still with us on the 3D plane today, she would be 87 years old, which is actually only a couple of years older than my dad. Wrap your noodle around that. Anyway, so, okay. finally, diving into our weekly reading for today. If you guys would like to hop in on this reading, I do highly encourage you to do so. So whether you are slinging cards yourself or pulling runes or however it is that you access your intuition, go ahead and do so. Maybe you're just channeling those messages, just bring them down. I think it creates a more well-rounded weekly reading. Instead of just hearing from my higher self, let's hear from your higher selves, and let's make it a nice, rich reading. Okay, before we do that, I do want to give a shout out to my mighty, mighty moderators. You know who they are because they wield the wrench of destiny next to their name. And also to my YouTube members. They have a little colored kitty head next to their name. So when you see them pop in and out and you're wondering, why does that person have a little kitty cat next to their name? That's because they are a YouTube member. They are a YouTube supporter. And I thank them very much. So Kayla and Nancy, Jonathan Cleese, Jolene, Duality Tales, thank you so much. Mwah! And also to my patrons, love you guys, Lily and Dana and Jamie and Kayla and Sugna Baby, Brandy, Jason, Brian, Palu, Crystal, Easy Does It, Oz, Joel, 1111, Casey Gritter, and Calm Chaos. Thank you so much for your continued support. Lots of good stuff happening with both of those groups. They get exclusive channelings once a month, and then it isn't till like a couple of months later that those channelings that they voted on are then put live on YouTube. Over on Patreon, they also have like these different tiers. So on certain tiers, you get, certain extra perks. So those at my woo woo tier, they're going to be getting their monthly reading for July upcoming soon. All tiers get a monthly meditation, a channeled guided meditation. So I'm going to be putting that out for them. And that's just exclusive to them. I never put those up on YouTube. That's just for them. And a lot of the stuff that I do, except for some of the channelings that they vote on, I later put those on YouTube, but everything else just kind of stays in with my YouTube members and with my Patreon homies. So if you'd like to be a part of that and you'd like to take a gander at some of those perks, definitely go check it out. You got a crystal grid coming out for July for my crystal tier, and lots of good stuff. And there's also like some yearly stuff that comes out as well. But yeah, I thought I would just kind of throw that out there. But also want to thank you to all of my subscribers. We're now at like 10,900 something. So almost to 11,000. It would be great if we were like at 11,111. That would be fabulous. Okay, let's see. Let's grab me a deck to utilize. Let's use the Muse Tarot. What else do I want to use? And the Ice Cream Oracle, because I don't know, just like feels like summer to me. So let's go ahead and do that. All right. The spread, let me go over that with you guys, but let me get my cards out first. Muse Tarot, boop, boop, boop. Ice Cream Oracle, boop, boop, boop. Okay. And man, I have noticed, both my boyfriend and I, that there are so many people out traveling and on the road, and it's just like so congested up here and like on the roads, like heading out and south and all. It's like, where did all these people come from? But you know what, it's summertime, so everybody's out traveling. People are out to go hiking and exploring and checking out lakes and creeks and rivers and whatnot. So a lot happening around here. Okay, my handy dandy spread I have in my sweet little spreads book here. It's called the Star Spangled Spread. And like I said, I created this like almost a decade ago, but I'll go through all the questions and then we'll go through them one by one. So if you didn't catch all the questions at first, like no worries, we're going to go through them one by one. But the Star Spangled Spread. Okay. So I took F. Scott Fitzgerald's like song and kind of broke it down and some of the lyrics and turned them into spread questions for us that I thought would be appropriate. So we have By the Dawn's Early Light, What is Just Beginning for Us, through the perilous fight. So, what is wearing you down at this moment? The rocket's red glare. So, a root chakra check. Our flag was still there, an obstacle we are overcoming or a victory. Land of the free, an area of our life that we feel most free or open. Home of the brave, an area of strength within our character. And then these last three questions aren't from the song, but just kind of go along with Independence Day. So I took 7 plus 4 plus 1776, which, if you break it all down, it comes out to the number 5, which the number 5 relates to personal freedom, life change, and opportunity. So, life change bringing an awesome opportunity for us. Okay, Declaration of Independence. Where do we need more independence? And in God we trust, e pluribus unum. So, what is within divine control? So, not in our hands. Where do we need more faith in the universe? So, when I say in divine control, yes, we are part of that divine, but sometimes it's allowing the ego to take a back seat and just having faith in our higher self, in our soul, in that divine energy, that everything is meant to be how it's meant to be, as long as we are following our heart. Okay, let's see. So let's go back so I can put this down. I will repost the picture of that spread that I took, because I created like a unique little like spread layout picture. But anyway, it's supposed to look like a firework going like I don't know. Anyway, John said 3 number 5, freedom through conflict. Yes. Well, I mean, technically, I guess it depends on the numerology that you look at, where like the number 3 is like kind of calling in our resources. It could be freedom through conflict. The number 5 also, like in Mayan astrology, means total freedom, new beginning, and speed. And that one I know pretty well, because I am a number 5 in Mayan astrology. I'm a 5 Akbal, which is basically the new beginning, new dawning, but things moving quickly. It has to deal with intellect and strategy, and also with like personal freedom. But the number 3 also connected to like bringing in, your resources and connecting to things around you so that you can achieve your goals, but also there could be conflict through it. So I don't know, it's like a conglomeration of answers, I would suppose. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead, and these are 9 questions. So we'll try to speed it up a little bit. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started, my homies. And our little hummers humming around because they're so excited because I gave them more of their crack water yesterday. I hope you like it, you little crackheads. I love my little fluttering crackheads. No, I josh. I love my hummingbirds. I am not putting them down. Okay. So little shuffle. Maybe instead of me pulling all the cards at once, we'll just go through it one by one. John says, I like that better, but I guess we get the energy we need. Yeah, definitely. Okay. So number 1, by the dawn's early light. So what is beginning for us? So for me, I'm going to pull this as like a collective question. But you guys can pull it for personal questions for yourselves in your personal life. So by the dawn's early light, what is just beginning for us? What is beginning for us right now? You tell me. Okay. Queen of Inspiration. Ha, ha, ha. And inspiration, that is our Queen of Swords. So let's dive into it. Okay, so it feels like the collective is getting like a little perspective shift, like, uh, you know, um, the only way, well, I guess there's a multiple, perhaps I shouldn't say only, there's a multitude of ways that we can gain a new perspective, but it is usually when our status quo is disrupted. Kind of like back in, kind of like the shirt I'm wearing, Elvira 2020, back in 2020, many people's lives were disrupted because of the, you know, COVID. I hate to say it because YouTube like restricts what you can say on here because they're a bunch of buttholes. But anyway, um, so with that whole thing and the lockdowns and the all the shenanigans that were happening during that time, a lot of people had to change how they were working. Some people now had to work at home because they couldn't go into the office. A lot of students were learning at home. So a lot of families were now together, whereas, people went about their normal day where, I get up at like 5 a.m. and then I go off to work and then I don't get home till like, 8 or 9 o'clock. And then, I barely get time to see my kids and then, I go to the gym and I do this and do that. And people started to realize that they could do a lot of those things on their own. They didn't really have to pay other people to do it. Like people realized, you know what? I don't need to go to the salon. I can do my hair just fine. I can color my own hair. I can trim my own hair. YouTube videos on how to do things like exploded on the internet. I know that I was like looking at videos. I'm like, okay, how do I trim my long hair? And even though I had like colored my hair before, I had usually gone to a person to do it. People were like, you know what? I could do my own nails. I could do my own cooking. I could do my own baking. I could do my own like house cleaning and all this stuff. And it was like, people all of a sudden had a different perspective of themselves, what they were capable of how they were living their lives. And, so there was this kind of disruption in that, this shaking up of that against status quo. So it feels like what's happening now, and it could be to varying degrees and for different reasons in people's personal lives, but there's a bit of a shakeup going on. So people's like perspective is like, just changing a little bit. Who am I really? What do I really want? Is this, kind of the life that I want to lead? What are some things that were dreams of mine that maybe I had forgotten about and I put them on the back burner, but now I have this time to contemplate it, or now I have time to do a bit of self-reflection, or is this who I really am? So a lot of this is coming up, it feels like, for the collective. Okay. Number 2, through the perilous fight. And by the way, if you are going to pull cards, don't feel like you have to keep up with me. Like, go ahead and pull them at your own pace. So number 2, through the perilous fight. So what's wearing down the collective right now? Like, what are we like? Bruh, bruh. Ooh. And we have that 10 of inspiration. So for me, this is more of that. It's more like a wands. I kind of read the swords and the wands differently depending on the card I'm looking at and not necessarily what it's actually saying. So for me, this is more like the 10 of wands. And so let me dive into it. Okay. Excuse me. So it feels like at the moment, many of the people connected to the collective, not just people, but animals, plants, everything that's connected to the collective consciousness in all the dimensions. It feels like there are so many areas in our individual lives, whatever those lives look like, whether we're living a tree life, a human life, an Andromedan life, there's so much change going on and so many questions arising, so many new perspectives, so many things that beings thought, well, things have always kind of been this way. They're probably not going to change, but now they have changed. And so because there's so much to contemplate, it feels like as a whole, the collective is like, whoa, man, there's a lot going on. There's a lot to contemplate. But remember that with the previous card, this is kind of a positive thing, because even though we may feel kind of like, wow, there's this changing and that changing, and, my way of life here is changing, and, and then I have to take a look at my life in this area and what I truly want. And, this is bringing up a lot of shadows for me. It's like, oh, it's so much at this time. But remember that nothing lasts forever. Everything ebbs and flows. And so perhaps for some, this is more just a 10 of Wands moment. For some, this could be a tower moment, a total shakeup and a rebuilding of their foundation. And for some, this might be more like the Judgment card, where it's like, oh, I have had this revelation about myself and, what I want to do with my life, at least for this next chapter. But this is ultimately for the good of the whole. It wouldn't be happening if the collective consciousness weren't bringing it into its sphere. Everything has to be in some sort of agreement and alignment at some level. Even when we think that, why would my soul want to bring this into my life? Maybe it's against my free will. Maybe on some level it is a free will violation. Maybe on another level, there was a contract that was made between these two energies to help each other. And perhaps we decided we were going to help each other through conflict, or we were going to help each other through sorrow, or whatever it may be, so that we could get out of our own way. So, in so many words. So that is kind of what's wearing us down right now, is just that a lot of personal questions are arising for many beings. A lot of personal points of view are shifting and changing. Okay, so question number 3, numero tres, the rocket's red glare. It's time to do a collective root chakra check, folks. Root chakra. So you might be asking, what is the root chakra? Other than being an energy center in our energetic form. The root chakra is our safety. It's our foundation. It's where we get a lot of our identity from, although, some of it is collected from the other chakras, but it's at our core. We could say it's where the child version of us lives, the small child. Does it feel safe? Who does it think it is? What does it feel is truly is essence? And let's see. Okay. Let's see. Our buddy John came in and said, for number 1, I'm intuitively getting casting off our husks, meaning we're uncomfortable, realizing we're holding on to so much, but it's the natural process. These are coming up to let go. I love that. And again, that first question was, what is beginning for us right now? So I love that. Beautiful. Okay. Root chakra. Boom. 3 of voices. This to me is like our 3 of swords. You could almost see like the heart with 3 swords in it, by the energy that you see here. You have the tearing eyes. You have this person just like, no, behind this closed door. But wait a minute. The door is possibly just an illusion, because look at all that freedom surrounding them on either side. But if they don't get up and look around, they'll never notice that there is all this freedom. So that door is just an illusion. It is but an illusion. Okay, so let's take a look at what that means for our root chakra. Okay, so what the collective has determined, like safety, what it means to feel comfortable and safe and protected. It feels like a lot of that shakeup, in the previous cards that we were getting, is also because many are feeling that what they've put all their power into, like, I've put all my power into this person, or perhaps even an entire government, or I put all my power into this group of people so that they can keep me safe, so that they can help protect me, so that I feel like if anything goes wrong, I could just blame those people. I can blame the government because they didn't protect me. They didn't keep me safe. But many are realizing that by giving our power away, whatever we're giving it away to, whatever we feel we're getting in return is but an illusion. So if we're giving our power away, our sovereignty away, and saying, you, government, people, group of people, you're in charge of protecting me and keeping me safe, well, that's an illusion. We've just given it away. We protect ourselves. We are the sovereign beings. And so it's this, Three of Swords moment where it's like this door. This door has been in charge of what we thought protecting us, but really we have all this freedom to protect ourselves and to govern ourselves in the way that we wish. So it seems like a lot of that is coming up in our root chakra, where it's like we might feel unsafe all of a sudden, where it's like, oh no, all of a sudden I feel like very unsafe, and I feel like my foundation is cracking up, and I feel like what is going on, and I was supposed to be protected, in whatever form that is. Maybe I'm talking on a global scale. I could be talking about, on a personal level, not feeling safe in the home, or maybe not feeling safe in a country, or maybe not feeling safe in the world. But we have to take a look at in what ways have we given our power away to another, possibly energetically speaking, maybe physically speaking, in order to feel this notion of safety. And what does safety truly mean for us? And why would we give our sovereignty away in this way? And perhaps it was for a learning lesson. I'm not saying that anything is good or bad. I'm saying you made a bad choice or you made a good choice. I'm saying, what's the learning in it? What's the lesson in it? All of this is just lessons and learning. And so that way we can make clear choices moving forward. So root chakra check, it's the safety issue. It's the oh, wait a minute, maybe I have been giving my power away, but why would I do this? So let's go back in and look, and maybe I'll learn some good stuff, and maybe I'll decide that for now I want to continue to give it away, or if maybe for now I'll decide, what, I'm going to start protecting myself and taking care of myself. Or maybe it's the opposite. It's the I have to take care of myself because I absolutely can't trust anyone, and that's coming from a state of fear. So why can't we trust in community to kind of share and work together, in a way? So there's so many layers to that. Okay. Oh, hey, Silver Star is here. She says, hey, Tara John was pulling cards, grabbing my coffee. Hope all is well. All is well, my sister. So she said, for question number two, what she got was the Two of Swords and the Death. Sunset. It's a chance and a choice to let go of new horizons ahead, look forward and not backwards, to stay focused on what you want to create. Nice. I love that. See, I love you guys just create such a more well-rounded reading. That's what I'm saying. Okay, so let me flip the page and continue on in our questions. Like I said, you guys go at your own pace. Don't feel like you have to keep up with me. Okay, question cuatro, number 4. Our flag was still there. So what's an obstacle that we're overcoming at the moment? Or perhaps a victory? Let's see. Ooh, 5 of emotions. It's the 5 of cups. Okay, so something that the collective is working on is our, I would say, understanding of our emotional state. Perhaps, and this is just a broad generalization, I'm not speaking for every single person on this planet, but again, just a broad generalization, that we may feel that because our lives have been so busy, and it's like, I do this, I get up in the morning, I go to work, and, and then I'm blah, 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 I work in, and then I come home and I have dinner and I pass out, that there may have not been a whole lot of time to acknowledge certain emotions that may have, arisen throughout the day. Not to say that we're always bursting out into, fits of joy or tears or, whatever, but there may have been like subtle emotions coming up, and we may just kind of have brushed it off because I don't have time, I'm working right now, or I'm I have the kids right now, I'm doing stuff, I'm building stuff right now. I just don't have time for these emotions. But because of the perceived world that each of us are living in, certain emotions, deeper, bigger, more impactful emotions have been coming up for us. And so many, again, just broad generalization, many are starting to look at those emotions as not just something that just randomly happens in our human vessel, but they're actually, that's my human vessel and my soul speaking to me in a way. And perhaps I just haven't been listening. Maybe I haven't realized I have low level anxiety going on. Maybe I hadn't realized I have low level anger going on, just like a program running in the background. Why is that? And so a lot of people are starting to feel this and realizing that my emotions were trying to tip me off to something. And the more I've ignored my emotions, I've realized that that's starting to have an impact on my physical state. And so people are really starting to pay more attention to those emotions, realizing that it is a language, it is a way that we are, one of the ways that we do connect to our soul, and we also connect to our physical body. So that is like a little victory, a little challenge that we're working on right now, is trying to understand those emotions. And perhaps, with maybe the shakeups that we've had these past several years with people's lives changing and how they run their lives and do their day to day, that these emotions aren't being cast aside so easily now. Now we have to take a look at them. Okay. Hey, Shadowlands Radio is here. What up, my friend? All right. So then going on into number 5, land of the free. Okay. And that is an area of our life that we feel most free, most open. So what area of the collective, feels most open? Okay. Let's have a little look-ski. Okay. Ooh, we have the muse of emotions. Such beautiful art, by the way. Okay, so land of the free. Okay, an area of our life that we feel most free. And so this would be, by the way, kind of like our King of Cups. That's interesting. Okay. So it feels like, going back to this card here, that 5 of emotions, 5 of cups, basically, how people have been paying more attention to their emotions in a general sense, trying to understand what they mean and maybe why I've been putting off certain emotions, and, why I haven't been looking at certain things. And so now people are starting to feel more free, not only in their heart chakra, but feels like this is also relating to the throat chakra, where they feel they can voice their opinion more. Maybe people aren't feeling so intimidated, or feeling like my opinion doesn't matter, I shouldn't voice what I'm feeling. But more people are starting to voice that. People are also starting to voice more how they feel about others. Like, maybe if they were one where in their family it was just not a thing to say I love you, and now people are starting to realize, I really truly want to tell this person, I want to tell mom, dad, my brother, sister, aunt, uncle, grandma, grandpa, I want to tell them I love them, or if they had upset me in the past, I want to kind of bring that up. Like, let's have a talk, let's have a discussion. And so it feels like people are feeling a little bit more heart chakra and throat chakra free to start voicing a little bit more. And perhaps for some people, that voicing more is that they're actually acknowledging some of those emotions and writing them down in their journals. Maybe they haven't spoken out loud those words, but they're starting, in written form. Maybe some are, just maybe doing recordings on their computer, but they haven't really sent them to anybody, just of them speaking these things aloud. Little practice. Maybe some are saying them to their dogs, their cats, and their feathery babies, and and it just feels like this kind of opening up. I just feel this heart chakra just opening up. Um, let's see. Sorry, let me bring this a little bit closer here. Aha, nice. um, let's see. Silver Star says, "Ooh, Tatum of Arrows, Coyote came out. See the cultural illusion for question number 4. Oh, And question number 4 was an obstacle that we're overcoming and a victory. I love that. Okay. Oh, it's to see through the illusions. Interesting. And Shadowland says, once my sister-in-law helps me figure out how to have 3 PC online games running properly on my current laptop, I'll be looking into recording and adding music and making my own vids. That's awesome. Speaking of feeling more free, letting your heart chakra just burst open. I love it. John says, I got a flash of blue and then an intuitive hit the throat use opening collectively. I feel that too. I really do. I do feel that too. And says, although I sense a little green too. You're confirming faster than I can type. That's awesome, dude. We are so simpatico. Like when we all come together, we're just like, pew, pew, pew. That's why I love hanging out with you guys. You guys are all freaking awesome. Silver Star says, for question number 5, which was where we feel most free and most open, she got the 6 of pipes, definitely in alignment with Tara's message. The music of your heart, let it sing open yourself to receive your blessings. I love that. I love this. This is so awesome. And then it's like confirming for me too. I'm just like, oh my gosh, dude, we're all in alignment. I love this. Hey, and then Heather's here, says, good morning. Good morning, Heather. Okay. Excellent. Silver Star says, I'm using the Medicine Woman Tarot deck. I see why my guides said that deck. I used to have the Medicine Woman Tarot. Oh, there were so many decks I had to, when I moved from San Diego, that I had to give away. That was one of my decks, and it was, I love that deck. Okay, so going on to question 6. Home of the brave. So an area of strength within our character. For the collective, an area of strength within our character. Okay, an area of strength within our character. Ooh, we have the 6 of voices. Kind of like the 6 of swords, I suppose. It just looks like such a journey, but also almost like a fool's leap. I love how different decks have different interpretations for loosely, Rider-Waite-Smith based interpretations. It's just, I love it. I love it. Ooh, and you know what? The woman in the picture, I think, is wearing these rings, which I got from Sarah Wilder, who is a homie out in Australia, and I totally support her. I love her. Just, I don't know, unique observation, Gemini brain. Okay, back to what we were saying. 6 of swords, 6 of voices. For question number 6, home of the brave. Okay, so an area of strength within our character. Okay. And again, broad generalization. um, nice. Thanks, Heather. So broad generalization, but even though individually, some of us may feel, man, there's some people that are just so strong. It seems like no matter what obstacle they face, they just like keep on trucking, they just keep on moving forward. But me, I feel like some things are just going to break me. But it's like, how many times have we said that? Oh, this situation, it's totally going to break me this time. And perhaps it broke us down to see ourselves in a different way, but it never kept us down. We always built ourselves back up. We always grew. We always learned from it, no matter when it is that we learned from it or when it is that we grew from it. But eventually we got another tool in our tool belt, in our, way of navigating life. And so in our own unique ways, we've always been able to overcome whatever it was that was going on in our life. Perhaps we felt like, through the death of a parent, like, this is going to be really hard for me moving forward. Some people just seem to deal with these things better than me. But eventually you made it on the other side. And this doesn't mean that, we once we go through something, yay, I don't think about it ever again and it never bothers me ever again, but we can go back and we reflect on it, and and certain things, bring it up again in our daily life, and it helps us to reflect on how we made it through that journey and how we are still currently perhaps moving through that journey. So like I said, it could have come through the death of a loved one. It could have happened when one lost their job. It could have happened when one had to move to a different country, or perhaps they went through an identity change, or whatever it may be. Whenever we feel like I just can't do it, I just can't move forward, this is going to be the thing that breaks me. We always keep moving forward eventually, and we find out that perhaps it broke us in all the best ways so that we could build ourselves up and that we could see ourselves in different ways. So Six of Voices, that is the collective consciousness, is like inherent, like strength, is that we just keep moving forward. Every time we think I can't, you do. So, all right. Let's go into 7 plus 4 plus 1776. Breaking it down, coming out to the number 5. Or some people might just do the numerology for 1776. So 1 plus 7 plus 7 plus 6 equals. And if you get a 2-digit number, you break it down even further to that single digit. Or not. It all depends on you. Some people read it as like a tarot card. Some people look at it as like Western numerologically speaking, or Mayan numerology. So whatever your personal numerology is. For me, I came out with the number 5. So let's see. Silver Star says 4 of pipes and 9 of bowls. The enduring will to the spirit, being disciplined, of expressing your true nature, overcoming doubt and fear by trusting your decisions. I love that. That is our inherent strength. All right. So number 5, meaning personal freedom, life-changing opportunity, speed, quickness, new beginnings, all of that jive. A life change bringing an awesome opportunity. So what is a collective life change going on? Ha, 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 ha. 6 of inspiration, like a 6 of wands almost. 6 of inspo. All right. Beautiful art. I like how the star is like, boom. Beautiful guidance. Almost like being held up by our guides, which are also just reflections of ourselves down there. Okay, so what is changing, bringing an awesome opportunity? Oh, okay. I was like, whoa, I hate to kind of go off like the Rider-Waite-Smith, like, like a definition, but it seems like a lot of that definition is actually in the answer. How we celebrate ourselves. It could be that in the past, we celebrated ourselves because somebody else celebrated us. Somebody gave us an award, a trophy, said, hey, Tara, you're doing a good job. And then I'm like, yay, I have permission to celebrate because somebody else said that I'm doing a great job. Somebody else said that I had perfect attendance, which makes me a good person. Somebody else said that, my students' test scores were through the roof. That makes me a great teacher. So it's, all of these perhaps outside ways of celebrating the self have, been the ways that we've celebrated ourselves. It's like somebody else says I was great. I got a commendation from, the freaking dean of the school, or, the president of the United States, that I was pretty freaking awesome. That must mean that I'm awesome. But now we're realizing that it's not so much how other people view us. And actually, maybe it doesn't matter how other people view us. And it doesn't matter if people say that we're good or we're bad, or, that you've done a great job and you're doing a poor job. But really, it all comes from within here. So if I celebrate myself because I know personally what I'm going through in my life, what I've, as I reflect what I've been through, where I am right now, and I'm celebrating those victories. Those are the things that other people can't see. So we're starting to realize, why would I place who I am and my victory on other people when they have no idea what's going on in my personal life? All they see is the outward stuff, like my job title, my salary, how many children I have, the size of my house, how many cars I own. That's all outward stuff. They don't have any idea what's going on in our inward journey, what's going on in our heart space, how our root chakra is being shook up. All of that is a very personal thing. So a lot of us are starting to realize that it's okay to celebrate myself without, somebody else telling me I'm doing a great job, because I'm starting to realize kind of what I'm going through and what I've been through. And I'm realizing my talents, my gifts, what I have to offer the world, who I am, all of that stuff. So I love it. I love it. Silver Star says, this track is mind blowing me. John said, fireworks. Angel Gaia Hearts, hello. This is blessings. So hello, everyone. Finally caught you all on a live today. Hugs and blessings, love and light. May you all get cake today. Amen. Amen to you, sister. Silver Star says, the Two of Swords. Wow, and Six of Arrows. Reflect on potential use of your resources. Everything is energy and your currency. You get to choose how to spend it and what it's worth. Dude, I love it. You guys have some freaking awesome messages. Hey, our homie 1111 is here, coming in with the butterflies of transformation. Hello, my friend. Angela Prayer Poems. This is, I felt like a name change. Hey, we're all going through some changes, some reiteration. So I love it. So Angel Gaia Heart is, of course, our friend Angela Prayer Poems, who comes out with some beautiful poetry with her messages during our live chats. And I totally appreciate them. John said, that sounds like the journey is the celebration. Exactly. Exactly. And Silver Star says, end of struggle, seeking your higher mind. Yes, yes. Okay, we have a couple more questions here. Next question or statement. Declaration of Independence. Where does the collective need more independence, though? Where do we feel like we need more freedom, more independence? Let's see. Do. Oh, the sun. So right away, I was thinking solar plexus, our confidence, our ability to, feel that inner strength, kind of like that, the strength card in tarot with the lion, the number 8, infinity. It feels like we're needing more independence on where we feel strength, where we feel confident. And again, it seems like for a while, many of us, not saying everyone, have felt like we'd been giving everybody else our power when it came to our root chakra, perhaps even speaking for us, giving our throat chakra away, perhaps telling us what is the best thing for us, giving our heart chakra away, telling us that this makes us good or bad. This is what you're capable of. This is what you're not capable of, outside of ourselves, giving our solar plexus away, our confidence, our strength, our drive, our sovereignty is within our solar plexus. And so it feels like where we're needing that independence is exactly what's getting shook up at this time. Is a lot of people are deciding, I want to be a sovereign being. I'm already a sovereign being. I would like to take my sovereignty back, please. I don't feel comfortable saying that person who's just another human being, a government, which is just a collection of human beings, just like myself, that somehow they're better or smarter or than I am. I'm fully capable of doing these things for myself. I'm fully capable of, directing my own life instead of being told what to do. Even though many of us have been conditioned to always listen to your elders, listen to your mother and father. Then it translates into listen to your teacher. Then it translates into listen to your boss, and then listen to this person, listen to your government. Don't ask questions, don't talk back. And a lot of people are like, I think it's time I talk back. And so that's kind of where we're at right now. It's kind of time that I start asking questions. I kind of want to start talking back now. I kind of want to create a little bit of a ruckus. Could you describe the ruckus? um, let's see. Angel Guyheart says, gee, I love you guys too. I also did a collective protection spell with a magic word so people can claim the energy. The word is broken rose. Ooh, I love it. And then she asked, Silverstar, how are you? Blessings and hugs. How do you do? And she said, a troop of 3 or more troops of baboons who meet and forage for food together is actually called a congress by scientists. Just saying. I love it. Oh my gosh, Angela, I love that. And John says, I wonder if we need a collective cord cutting and solar plexus cleanse. I think maybe the collective itself needs to cut some cords. And yeah, definitely. I can agree with that. Maybe that's something we can do post live chat today. Yeah, I don't mind doing that. Silverstar says 3 of bowls in larger circle of spiritual kin. I feel that meant feeling unhappy and not feeling like we have a support system. Wow. I love how all of these are just like kind of bouncing off of each other and kind of elaborating. I love this. All right. Last question, final question. Question number 9, which kind of the reason I put 9 questions, because 9 is the number of fertility, creation, abundance, newness. So hence 9 questions. All right. In God we trust. E pluribus unum. So what is within divine control? Meaning our higher self, source energy, collective consciousness. And what is not, like we don't have control over, like physical control over. And where do we need to have more faith in that universe, which is also a piece of us? Let's have a little look-ski. Okay, in God we trust. So what is within that divine control? And what is just, we just don't have physical control over? Whoa, divine control. I love how that just popped out. And physical control. Okay, what do we don't have physical control? Okay, so what is within that divine control? 10 of voices. All right. That divine control, that is, like I said, we are a part of that divine. We are all mirrors of that. We are all part of source energy or God or Allah or whatever it is that you want to call it. We are all a part of it. And what it has control over is the ability to help us reinvent ourselves over and over again. Kind of like the butterflies that our friend 1111 had posted, the transformation over and over again, so that we never stay stagnant. We're not that same infant that was born who knows how many years ago. We changed. We changed the moment we had our first breath, the moment that we came out of our mothers. We changed. The moment we took our first steps, we changed. Our frequency changed. The moment we had our first heartbreak, our frequency changed. The moment we stood up for ourselves, we changed. That's all within divine control. That's all a part of us. That is divine. That is our will. So now, what is not really within our control? So we have to really rely on the soul, the heart, source, all of that. And that is the 6 of emotions, which would be like the 6 of cups. This, I kind of want to answer in a twofold way. So when we say we cannot change the past, that is not within our control. The reason we say this is so that we don't live in the past, that we live here in the present. You know, what's the purpose of putting all of my time and energy into something that happened 5 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago? Why would I do that if I'm not living there? I'm living here right now. I'm creating my future right now, here in the present. However, the more we live in our present and the more we heal in our present, the more that past heals. So, in essence, it's a shifting of the past, it's a shifting of the energy. It may not shift the events of the past, but it definitely shifts that energy of the past because of the shift that we're making here in the present. So that's why I wanted to say that's kind of like a twofold answer, possibly multifold, because we live in a multiverse. um, but yeah, we can't change our past, but we can definitely heal our past. So wanted to put that out there. All right. Well, thank you for allowing me to do this spread with you guys. Like I said, I created it like a decade ago, and I just, I feel it's fun, not just to do during, America's independence, upcoming Independence Day celebration, but, sometimes we need a little check in our root chakra. Sometimes we need to take a look at where our strengths lie and, where we can put more faith in our own soul, our higher self. Let's see. Let's go back here. Do, do, do. Angel Guy Heart says, I'm great. Been working on dolls, getting more sleep, actually doing self-care routine. Love it. Also, I don't know who needs to hear this today, but you are all loved. Your voice matters. You matter, and you will all be right. And you'll be all right. And you deserve to be happy, healthy, and abundant no matter what people say. Beautiful. Thank you, Angela. John says, I'm getting the turkey and eagle both representing a phoenix. It feels like renewal or reinventing ourselves. Yes, love that, death and rebirth. That's awesome. Angela says, butterflies have to fully liquefy and reform their body inside the cocoon. The caterpillar literally melts down and is reborn and gets their wings. That is beautiful. I felt so honored. Back when I lived in Spring Valley, we used to get all these monarch butterflies because we'd plant all this milkweed, and then it was like they were eating all the milkweed. So I planted more milkweed, which brought in more butterflies, and then or caterpillars, and then they eat more milkweed. But then they made all these beautiful green chrysalises along my wall, and I got to see when they were actually coming out of their chrysalis, and it was just like the most magical thing. I'm glad I actually filmed it. John said, being able to tap into the higher perspective as the eagle and hold room for our physical selves, the turkey. I love that. Oh, John, by the way, when my boyfriend and I were driving back from, where the heck were we driving back from? From seeing some friends. On the side of the road, I saw a turkey, a wild turkey, and I had to like do a double take because like although I guess certain areas around here have wild turkeys, I've actually never seen a wild turkey. I know, how sad is that? I've seen them like in state fairs and stuff like that, but I've never seen just like out and about. And I was just like, what? So it's interesting that you brought up turkey. So that's awesome. Angela says, nature doesn't change the past. It remembers, it adapts, it thrives. Beautiful. And Silver Star says, three of pipes, dream, envision, wonder, example, ever deepening love, welcome the living spirit of earth for the last question. Beautiful. And that last question, that was our, hold on. Boop, 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 boop. In God we trust, e pluribus unum. And Nomi says, hi, hello, hello. And Shadowland says, just pulled a card for the last question. Queen of Cups from Gothic Tarot, emotional intelligence and power. Don't ignore your emotions. That's right. They are speaking to you. They are a language, my friends. And Angela says, monarchs are my favorite butterfly. They migrate every 3 generations of their generation. So every third of a generation of monarch flies with the hope of their fluttery of all their fluttery ancestors. Yeah, that's something that I was like studying all about monarchs when I started having them show up in my yard, and then I started having to go down to the local nursery and buy more milkweed to plant in my front yard, which just became like an explosion of like butterfly stop off land where they just like come and visit. They're like, pit stop at this house because they got all the milkweed. But yeah, I realized, in their journey, wherever it is that they're headed towards, they don't, once they start the journey, they're not going to make the end of that journey, that physical butterfly, but it knows that all of the butterflies that come after it are going to continue on in that journey. So it's this faith and understanding that I'm going to eat this milkweed, I'm going to eat all this, and then I'm going to transform into something, I don't really know what, and then it turns into a butterfly. And it's like, I just know that I keep going and that it's going to be okay. And then, you know, after them comes their ancestors, basically their relatives. So it's beautiful. All right. So, okay. Next, okay, first, maybe I put a little chapstick on because my lips are a little dry, but we're going to be doing a channeling. I put out on the poll on Thursday asking you guys what you wanted to see during today's live chat. And I think I put down like a tarot inspired workout, which basically we pull tarot cards. We have a lot of fun. It's just like goofiness. We've done tarot workouts before. And so a couple people voted on that. A couple people voted on the other question that I had was like, maybe you guys want to create some native fry bread, because I do know how to make fry bread. So good. So there was a few votes for that. And then for a while, it was neck and neck between channeling America's Independence Day and connecting to some animal spirits. But then channeling America's Independence Day came out on top. So perhaps we will connect to the animal spirits in next week's live chat. So I will have to keep that in mind. Angela says they go to a forest in Mexico and hang on all the trees and geese over during the winter, then wake up and they fly back to lay eggs like magic fairy bugs. Oh, that's so wonderful. Oh my gosh, that is beautiful. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so we're going to have a little bit of Wawa. I can remember maybe up to like 3 questions when I'm just doing a solo channeling. Basically, when somebody isn't in my ear, like asking questions. It's a little bit difficult, but I like to do it because I think it's like I don't know, like maybe it's a good practice for something. But normally when I channel, I push my ego off to the side. My ego is still there. You know, I'm not like an egoless person. My ego is still there off to the side, but it's kind of like, it feels like it's in a dream state. So I'm aware that I'm talking. I'm aware sometimes that my hands are gesturing and that I'm moving. But I feel like I'm in a dream, as if I'm just kind of like dreaming all this. And that's kind of where my ego is at when I channel. And that's why it kind of feels like, did I just dream all that, or did I actually channel something? Like, was I talking? And sometimes I'm a little bit more cognizant, trying to like keep up with what's being said. And it's like my mind keeps trying to like, it'll hear the question, it wants to answer, but then another answer is coming through it, and the answer is coming faster than my brain can think. And so sometimes like there's a bit of conflict with the ego being like, but wait, I would like to, okay, well, you already answered the question. Okay, well, maybe I can answer. Okay, no, you already answered this question. And so that's kind of what's going on while I channel. But sometimes, which I have done in past live chats, I'll gather like 2-3 questions from you guys, give the ego something to do. Like, go ahead, you remember a question, and then I allow the energy to answer that question before my brain can actually think of an answer. I don't know. It's really hard to describe, but that's kind of what's going on. So, so anyway, I'm going to ask you guys if you have any questions, like burning, really got to know what happened during America's independence from Britain, like, you know, that whole war, the write up of the Declaration of Independence, the writing up of the nation's constitution. Like, if you have any questions on that, I'll take like 3 of them, because that's like the limit that I can pretty much remember before like all of a sudden I have to go more into my ego, and then it's harder to channel. But I think it's good practice. So so yeah, let me know if you guys have some questions, maybe questions from my moderators as well. Okay, Silver Star said, that's so cool. And Angela says, freeze, they literally freeze, then rebirth out to the ice. Are you serious? Dude, that is so cool. That is so freaking cool. Okay, more water. And then if you guys have some questions, I'll try to keep them in my noggin, and then yeah, and then we'll get into it. By the way, I have no idea what's going to come through. I don't know if it's going to be some sort of alien race coming into talk. I don't know if it's going to be like somebody who was alive during that time. I don't know if it's just going to be source energy talking, or I don't know. I'm just going to put the intention that it's whatever energy is most capable of giving us information about that time. Also understanding that whatever energy comes through is always going to have a bias. Doesn't matter if it's a positive polarity or negative polarity. Everything has its own perspective, but we will appreciate hearing that perspective. And we just hope that it's most capable of being able to give us that info. Okay, Angela says, I gotta run errands. Sorry, guys. Love to you all. All right. Love to you, Angela. I hope you have a fabulous day. All right. Riley says, Independence Day was so long ago. Shouldn't we consider repealing many of our Bill of Rights by now? Do we really need them today? Ah, okay. So I will keep that in mind. So, okay. So just asking about the Bill of Rights and about it today. Okay. Bill of Rights today. All right. I'm like committing it to memory. Okay. Silver Star says, what was the real purpose of why the American was born? Why America was born? Was it religious freedom from Christianity or a better life? Okay. All right. So two really good questions. Should we repeal many of our Bill of Rights because of our modern era? And then also, what was maybe one of the real reasons for America's independence? Of course, we have all these things written down in our textbooks, but as we've learned, textbooks, history books are always rewritten by the people who win. So, and that means they get to write them however they wish. All righty. Okay, so those are our two really good ones. Ooh, Silver Star also says, oh, okay. Oh yeah, those were the two questions. Okay, I can probably remember a third if somebody wants to do a third question, but those are really good. Should we repeal some of those Bill of Rights? And are they like, do we need them today? And then also, what was maybe one of the main reasons for America becoming America? And separating away from British rule. Hey, and John's also saying it's 11:11, which means that it was 9:11 here, which is my number. All right, I love that. 9:11 and 11:11. Okay. I'll get myself nice and situated. And Silver Star says, Napoleon quote, history is written by the victors. Yes, I knew I heard that somewhere before. Not from Napoleon himself, but I did read that somewhere before. Yes. All right. And then, 11:11. What would our forefathers like to say to us today? I love that. Okay. We have three really good questions now. Awesome. Okay. So I will keep those all in my brain now. Okay. So asking about the Bill of Rights as it pertains to today, like, do we need it? Asking about the real reason, one of the real reasons America was created, became, United States of America eventually, why we separated from British rule. And then what would our forefathers like to say to us today? I think that those are three really good questions. They are three questions that I can remember. I don't think I can remember any more questions than that. So three is our max. Let's do it. Silver Star says that is a good one too. Yeah, for sure. Okay. All right. Okay, let me just make sure I'm committing those 3 questions to memory because my brain's going to go to sleep. Okay. Bill of Rights. Real reason for separation. What would our forefathers like to say? Okay. Okay, I think I got it. All right. On that, I'll see you guys on the other side. All right. So, like I said, I don't know who's going to come through, but I'm setting the intention now that whoever is most capable of answering those questions would please come forward and answer those questions, plus whatever else it would like to say about America's celebration of its Independence Day. Anything that happened back then, anything that we think it thinks it would, be pertinent today. Also, I have found it helpful that when I channel one-on-one for others, that when they tap in and they also meditate on that energy, it helps me to connect even better. So if you guys would like to get yourselves in your own meditative state, setting that intention, that whatever energy comes through is the energy that is most apropos for these questions. Okay. I'm going to stop talking now. I mean, me, Tara. I'm going to stop talking now. I'll catch you guys later. Hello. I am being asked to introduce myself in your tongue. You have called my kind Mohawk. I've come to speak on the development of your people, your country, because we, my people, and our neighboring peoples were a part of it too. On this side, the land of spirit, we find it interesting that it has been written that somehow we were not involved in this, that somehow we were pushed aside, as if your people hated my people. This was not so. We worked together, but perhaps, as it is, they call it a long game, things long forgotten, no more oral tradition. Perhaps this is the downfall of taking away an oral tradition, writing it down. How can you trust those who have written it? Perhaps you might ask, How could we trust those who orate it? But it comes down to what you feel in your heart. So they have said that our peoples were separate, but we were not. But in the long game, if you can keep these two people fighting, to think that they were hated amongst each other, that we killed on sight, that you killed on sight, then that hatred would be felt in your modern era, that you would not get along. I see. But I can speak on the questions that you have, as we were right there. Yes, amongst the people that wrote your document, claiming what the authority of the land would be and how it would be, and shaping it so that all questions would be answered. Why you had your amendments, so that you could clarify what couldn't be written the first time. You have brought up your Bill of Rights. There is so much that morphs and changes throughout history. And what you must go back to is your document. You call it your Constitution. That was the spirit and the heart of what you wanted for this land. Do you know how my people and your people created this document? Yes, my people too. Is this not mentioned in your history books? It was the peoples that you had come to be among. We came together on this, not just the white man. We asked the land what would be the best. For you, this land was new. For us, this land was old. And we brought our new and old perspectives to the table. We shared many tribes, Choctaw, Cherokee, all of us, many, many tribes, on what worked and what did not seem to work in our own governing. We did not have a government, but we had a way of governing ourselves and our tribes. And so we had shared that with the peoples in the British territories. And they shared what they remembered from the lands that they had come from, what worked, what did not work. They shared what was working now and what was not working. And so in essence, the land spoke. And we listened, all of us. Sure, there were men full of pride and ego, wanting to write that in to your constitution. But this is something inherent in all peoples, my peoples, your peoples. But if you look at its heart, it is alive. It is not just a document. And so these different amendments, you call it, were written to clarify for those who could not read its heartbeat, could not feel it at a deeper level, could not hear the land and its people speaking. And so thus your Bill of Rights, also created for those who could not see right in front of their own nose what should be a right. So perhaps as things change over time in your modern time, not to take away your Bill of Rights, but perhaps it could be clarified to make it more clear on what is inherent in every being. Put it in black and white again, so to speak, for those who cannot read the spirit of what your country was created on, what was founded. So, in my opinion, a clarification is needed. There are those who will claim that because the language is old, that therefore the words written so long ago are also old and outdated. Do we cut down a tree just because it is old, even though it continues to grow and thrive? No, this makes no sense. So why would we take away something just because it is old? Perhaps it needs a new perspective to be made clear so that all could feel that heartbeat once again. You have another question about why your people wanted to break away from the land across the ocean. Why, ultimately? And I say this with the least amount of ego that I can. But your people came to love our people. You saw that the way we interacted with other tribes, the way we lived off the land, the way we connected to our animals, the way we connected to our trees, the way that we even spoke to the wind, that everything was alive and everything was free. The sun is free, the wind is free, the animals, the earth itself is free. And we have the opportunity to live upon it. And we are grateful for that. This does not mean that we did not have war between our tribes. Again, all men live with ego to varying degrees. And it's only when wars take place is because we have forgotten that we are a part of this land. It is not something to be taken. And so your people saw this, what it was like to govern yourselves, to be free from some figure, some overlord, telling you how to live your life, how to defend yourself, how to have your own home. That strangers do not enter your home without your permission. You saw this in us, and you modeled much of your country after us because we work together. Were there fights amongst our people? Yes. Were there tragedies? Yes. Just like I said, between our own peoples, we fought amongst each other sometimes. And again, it's when you forget where you are really from, the land itself. And any squabble you may have is when you forget that nothing is permanent, when you forget that nothing can be beholden, nothing can be enslaved, that eventually all will be free. And that is the real reason you wanted to break away. You found your confidence after so long of being beat down, being held prisoner, so to speak, being a slave to your own people. You did not want to take it anymore. Perhaps the spirit of your ancestors spoke to you. They cried out to you that they wanted to be free. And so you fought back. And you realized, as a whole, you would rather die being a free people than live being enslaved forever. And so we helped you. We understood this in the spirit of where your people were coming from. Your final question about your forefathers and your foremothers. What would they say today? We are a part of that. Our name not written on your declaration or your constitution, because this was not something that we claimed. We knew that this was something that you needed in your own growth and your own progress to create something for yourselves. And we did not want to take that away from you. We did not want your country, so to speak. We wanted to continue to live amongst ourselves on our land. It didn't matter who they said whose land it was. We were in agreement with how this land should be utilized and how the people should be free upon it. So we continue to live amongst our tribes, amongst our people. And you created a little something for yourselves, which eventually became a country, incorporating different aspects of this land far and wide, from one ocean to the next. And I would ask you, just as much as I know that those who put pen, so to speak, to paper, to create what you call your country, they would ask you if you are feeling free today. Do you feel free to live in your homes? Do you feel free to educate and teach your children? Do you feel free to speak up against those who claim to own you? Do you feel free to be who you are? Practice what you want to practice, your varying religions. Do you feel free to speak your mind? Do you feel free to defend yourself? Do you feel free to close your door to strangers if they are uninvited in your home? Do you feel free It is okay if some of your answers were that you do not feel free. But this is a start, a discussion you must have. Because your ancestors had these same discussions, asked these same questions. And when they had decided that they were not okay with the answer to not feeling free in these areas, they came together to ensure that they could feel free because they believed it was a right, that all people should feel free in these areas. Today, in your schools, you talk about helicopter parents nitpicking how their child dresses, what their child eats, who their child can hang out with, where they can hang out, what they are allowed to learn. Do you not feel that there is a larger presence of a helicopter parent in your nation? If you are okay with this, so be it. But if you are not, perhaps it's time you stood up to your helicopter parent and voiced your right to speak to them and to change things if you do not like it. This is your country after all. And maybe if you speak, our people, my descendants, will remember how to speak as well. That is for another time, to speak on my people. But they too must remember how to be free, for they have forgotten, just like you. Be well. All right. Whew. I need some water. I'm so sweaty right now. Okay, well, I'll read through your comments while I come back to planet Earth. Whew. Oh, Silver Star says, I did a pre-poll before the live. I got the grandfathers. How fitting. Nice. Intuitive Stretches here. Hello, hello. Our friend Calm Chaos. Hey. Calm Chaos says, how are things going in your world today? Well, we're doing a bit of channeling today. Intuitive Stretch says, Tara's also channeling a bit of his accent too. I kind of felt that. I was like, what am I saying? Silver Star says, that was wonderful. Intuitive Stretch said, yes. Okay. Now that I'm kind of coming back a little bit, it felt like, I don't know, like a very, very like wise, but like masculine energy. It seemed like balanced and fair. I don't actually, now I've kind of lost it. I don't quite remember what he said. But it felt like, it was like, okay, this is what he was showing me. Like he's showing me like the very beginning, of the country, not like the beginning of time, but like the beginning of the country. And he's showing how there wasn't what maybe we've thought about, like how we always thought that, when people came over to, North America, that somehow like we were just like oppressing all the natives that lived here. And there was like all this war and this fighting. And he was like, it wasn't actually like that. And it was like, interesting to him, because he was he was like saying like we worked together, like we were friends actually, you know, not to say that we didn't have skirmishes or that my own people like fought with like my own people. Like that just happens, like people fight sometimes, but he says for the most part it felt like we were all friends. And he couldn't figure out like why it wasn't written that way in modern history books. And he felt like he says, well, I mean, what better way basically to control people than to divide people? He says, if the people here were united with the natives that live here, then he says, you guys would be unstoppable. But we need to get you guys to believe that we've done so much egregious things to each other that we could never be friends. And he says, that just isn't true. And he says, sure, there are some things that, you know, in history, you know, making it look one way or the other. He says, we've done some horrible things. And he says, and your people have done some horrible things. But again, he was like, it was showing that when people forget that nothing can be owned, that's when fights break out. He says, that's when wars break out. And he says, and nothing can be owned forever. But it felt like I think he was Mohawk, I think, if I remember. But it felt like all this love and that he and the ancestors are supporting all people who live in this country, like 100% now, like whatever our choice may be, but it has to be like a clear choice. Like he's like, are you okay with like how things are? If you're not okay, then change things, you know, don't just sit and complain about them. He says, because that's the way it's always been. Every time he says a people come together and they're not okay with something, they get together and they change it. Sometimes it's through negotiations. Sometimes it's through kicking people out. Sometimes it's through fighting. But he's like, if you want change, you got to make change happen. That was like his thing over and over. Shadowland says, I was doing a reading for tomorrow. Ooh, cool. Candace says, that's beautiful. Thank you. Shadowlands was asking who I was channeling. I believe it was Mohawk Native. John said, yes, Mohawk. Shadowlands says, thanks, John. Riley said, thank you for answering my question. That was wonderful. Yeah, I'll have to go back and rewatch it. And I suppose after the live chat today, I'm going to section this channeling out and I'll put it out for tomorrow. So that way you guys could just rewatch it. You don't have to rewatch like the whole live chat. You could just rewatch the channeling. I'm going to rewatch the channeling because like I said, I don't quite remember everything that was said. All I know is I really liked his energy. I felt he had a very like balanced, wise energy. And it seemed like he liked our forefathers. He liked the people who created this country. He felt like they had good intentions, and that was what he looked at, was people's intentions. I felt like he was showing me paper, and I think the paper represented like the Constitution and like Bill of Rights and the amendments and stuff like that. It was like but like showing me that like the intention in the paper was something that he agreed with, not necessarily like all the words that were written down, but it was like the heart of it, you know, the intention behind it. um Interesting. Yeah, so yeah, let me know like what you guys think of all that. Did that bring up more questions? Like, should I do like another channeling on this? I'm not sure. Silverstar says, we're all peoples of this land. It is our blood and our bones. Literally, we're all related and more connected than we think. We are all genetic digging into DNA, etc. And Calm Chaos says, thanks for the channel. John says, I was just thinking, not Andrew Jackson, because of this. And Silverstar says, yes, a part two. uh, yeah, okay. Yeah, maybe definitely. Um, hmm. Yeah, and I agree. I mean, we're all peoples of this land. We were all native at some point, whether we were natives of England or Ireland or Norway or, you know, North America, South America, wherever. We've all been natives in one place or another, and we're all of Gaia. like this being was showing me over and over again. It was just showing like the bodies becoming one with the land and coming up from the land, just like trees. We come from the soil, we go back to soil. We come from the soil, we come back to soil. So why would we fight over the soil if the soil is just us, you know? Um, Silver Star says, sorry, my thoughts came out as scrambles sometimes. Hey, no worries. 1111 says, absolutely, you should, or we should totally look into this side of the beginning of America. I'm so fascinated. Thank you. Yeah, I want to know more. I mean, like I said, I have to like rewatch and actually see what was said, like clearly. But yeah, I think a part two should be in order. Definitely. And having yeah, if anybody would like to be a guest interviewer that could actually like direct some of the questions, I think yeah, that would be awesome. Um okay. Whew, whew, I feel grounded again. All right. So you guys, if you would like to do some one card readings now, some super chats and super stickers, I could do that. If not, we can go into our channel guided meditation, maybe have a nice little, I don't know, like a 4th of July inspired meditation. I'm not really sure how that would go, but I would just let my higher self take over and we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I think that that would be fun. So again, if you guys want to do super chats or super stickers, let's do that. And then we'll go into our channel guided meditation. So let me find a deck to utilize for this. Hmm. Actually, let's see. I would like to use, haha, my story cards. I think that would be a lot of fun. Do, do, do. I'll just kind of bust those out. You know what? I don't think he said his name. I was kind of like part of my brain was like, don't forget to introduce yourself. And I think he did, but I don't think he told us other than maybe his tribe, but interesting. Silver Star says, I've been digging into DNA and genetics. We're all very concerned with all the migration that has gone on. Just digging into Europe alone is wild. Yes, for sure. I mean, yeah, see how kind of like we've spread out and just kind of like covered all the lands of this world. It's beautiful. And I mean, there's so many layers, like all of our energetic bodies and all the dimensions that we live in, but just trying to like grasp like this dimension in this world is wild. John, hey, thank you. So John, let me know if you have a particular question or maybe something more general from your higher self, or um yeah, maybe because I still feel that person that I channeled, his energy is still around. If you guys have questions for him, I don't think he's gone away. I think he's just kind of like seated next to me, which means I can kind of describe him. And those of you that are, I don't know, confident in understanding like certain tribal wear that depicts certain tribes from other tribes, I can kind of describe it for you guys. So um, he has like no hair on the sides. Um, his hair is not short here, but it's long, like a braid. Um, he has like in his necklace, it's like it's made of seeds, but there's also like some seashells that he has. So like in his necklace. Um, and he has like leather pants, I guess, but they're not like pants. I guess I think they're more like for riding horses, like chaps, like leather pants for horses. It's like a It's like a three-part pants. um, he is barefoot. Um, and he has his feathers. They're big feathers, but it's on one side of his hair. It's like a feather, 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 all the way down to his braid. It's like four or five really big feathers, like right here. Um, he doesn't have like any paint on his face or anything. Um, he's holding an arrow, but he likes to hold it for representing something. I don't think he ever shoots that arrow. I think he takes that arrow with him wherever he goes when he talks. I don't know. That's all I can see. Um, oh, hey, that's a nice picture. But yeah, it's kind of like, but he's got like feathers, feather, feather. Kind of like that. Interesting. Interesting. All right. Okay, so John says, I'd like to hear about my connection to the land. All right, we will dive into that for sure. He says, it's been on my heart lately. Silver Star's got to step away for a moment. Hey, no worries. And then we'll get to our friend Shadowlands, who also has a question. But let's hear about John's connection to the land. Okay, so John, all I keep seeing are birds. Probably, I mean, not because I just keep seeing feathers in our friend's hair, but I keep seeing all these birds like vulture, there's hawks, there's eagles, but I keep seeing these like giant birds of prey. Not like little birds, not like doves or sparrows or chickadees. It's um, these giant birds of prey. And they're talking about fitting in, and that sometimes you would say that birds are just birds. Like there's big birds, there's large birds, there's small birds, there's all these different types of birds. But then people start to categorize birds into like good birds and bad birds, and that sometimes people even forget the placement in the grand scheme of things that each individual bird serves. That little birds aren't just there because they look cute. Like they serve a purpose. The formation of their beak, the way they fly, their coloration, all serves a purpose, just like the birds of prey. And that some people think that because the birds of prey have their own development and what they're meant to be a part of, people look at them as bad sometimes. Like they're aggressive, they kill other birds sometimes, that makes them bad. The other birds, because they're small and they're cute, those are the good birds. And the birds are saying that perhaps for a time you felt this way, ancestrally speaking, in your past lives. When you're here at the very beginnings of people being on this planet, like this is like beginning. Um, that's the way people were divided, and you thought that that was very unfair. Because through your eyes, we're all just people. But because some people had more aggressive personalities, which were needed, and some people had more meek personalities, which were also needed, it was divided into good and bad. And so this is why you have such a soft spot for like eagles and hawks, big old raptors, is because you see that there is a necessity for everything. If we didn't have the vulture, we would have more disease. All these carcasses would be laying around, we'd get sick. If we didn't have certain birds of prey, certain populations would run rampant. If we didn't have the finches and eating the seeds, the trees would overpopulate. So everything has a purpose. And nothing is neither good nor bad. And that's the way you always saw things. And it says that it's carried on over into your life now, into John Gross, your life, where you don't like to categorize people into good people and bad people, but you see the grand scheme, that bird's eye perspective, that everything is in synchronicity, everything's in harmony. We have those that are more fire, those that are more water, more air, more earth, but it's all needed. And that was your original connection to the land, was being able to see from that bird's perspective because of your time spent amongst the birds before your incarnation here. Okay. Let's pull a card. Magic. And guess what's on that card? A bird. So, oh my gosh, John, yes, you really did come from like the world of bird, and brought that like balanced perspective. At least you tried. When the first people first started inhabiting this planet, and you brought that with you nowadays. Oh my goodness. John says, I'm picking up the song that goes, "Shoot that golden arrow in my heart," in reference to the man who came through earlier. Oh, I'll have to look that up. Thank you, dude. John said it keeps coming up. Birds. Yes. Wow. Wow. Oh my goodness. That was so beautiful. I loved being able to like see it's just all the birds were like in perfect like harmony. No good birds, bad birds, all just birds, all with a purpose, all keeping things within balance. Love it. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, John, for allowing me to tap into that. Shadowlands has a question. I have a doctor's visit tomorrow. Where's my energy at currently? All right. So let's tap into your energy. Maybe we'll get a little song. That's like the first time I've tapped into John and I've never gotten a song. It was like serious. I was like, whoa. Okay. Not that it's not serious, but okay. Shadowlands going into the docks tomorrow. Okay, there's a song coming in. I guess I can't really sing it, but it's a Sail by AWOL Nation. That's the song that's playing for you. Sail. Ding, 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 ding. I can't really like it's like anyway, but that's the song that's playing, Shadowlands. Let's see what that has to do with where your energy is at the moment. And we have Dreamer. Let me just get in nice and close so you can see that card. Dreamer. Okay. All right. Okay. So this is you're kind of in limbo right now. What your higher self is letting you know that wherever we place our worries and anxieties, that's where we're going to have a problem. Problem, as in something showing up on the physical body. So, what your higher self would like you to do tonight before your appointment tomorrow is ask yourself, if you are nervous or you are worried, where is that actually coming from? What are you nervous about? What are you worried about? So let's say, I don't know, I'm gonna think drastically. Let's say I'm worried about, what if I have melanoma? I find melanoma on my skin. What if, you know, I'm real worried about that. But there's another layer to it. Okay, so you're worried about melanoma on the skin. What does that really mean? You're worried about being sick, but not just sick, sick with something, awful, deadly. Why would I be sick, scared of that? Well, going even deeper, my mortality is coming up. Perhaps I'm questioning my mortality, like why I'm here. I'm, kind of worried about, this or that, but it's coming down to one's own essence, one's own mortality. And that's coming through with the anxieties that we might feel about a certain illness or disease. So that's what your higher self is asking you to do tonight, is like go backwards until you can't ask any more why questions. So if you're saying, well, I'm worried that they might say that there's something wrong with my stomach or something. Okay, why? Well, because then I would have to take all kinds of medications. Well, why would you have to take those? Well, because I wouldn't be able to heal myself. Why do you think you wouldn't be able to heal yourself? Well, because and you just keep going, why, until you can't say why anymore. And once you get to the root cause of any little anxiety or worry you may have, you'll be able to take a look at it, alleviate that worry, anxiety, so that tomorrow when you go to the doctors, that worry and anxiety isn't going to show up as something. Because if we're worried about something, then we're always going to have something to worry about. If the worry is there, we're going to find something to worry about. If we have anxiety, we're going to have something to have anxiety about. If we have fear, we're going to have something to fear. But if we understand why it's there and we can kind of work with it, then that thing doesn't need to connect to the fear, because it's not there. The anxiety is not there. The worry is not there. So that's just what's coming up from your higher self. So there's nothing to actually worry about. But if you do feel a little bit of anxiety, just ask yourself why, until you can't ask yourself why anymore. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. I hope that helps, Shadowlands. All right, Silver Star is back. Johnson, thank you. Sorry, I'm busy. Hey, no worries, my friend. All right, and then we got our buddy 1111 who has a question. So thank you again to John and to Shadowlands who allowed me to read for them. And then our friend 1111 asks, does Rebecca have a message for me? Okay, so let's go ahead and have a little tap in. Okay, so Rebecca was showing me in her very crystalline self, like if there was like a big beam or something, and it's like she's hiding behind the beam. And she was saying that um, all of us, we sometimes lie to ourselves. We convince ourselves that we're not doing this thing, but we actually are, and it's illusion. So what she's trying to say is that you've been making more of an effort to kind of say, I'm putting myself out there, I'm moving towards the things that really light me up, I'm kind of like revealing myself like a butterfly, I'm out there, I'm showing people more than I have in the past, that I'm doing it. And she said, but how you're doing it is still in a hiding type way. So there's a conflicting energy. So you're going to get conflicted results. So let's say that, I don't know, I wanted to be an artist, I'm already an artist, but I'm afraid for people to see my art. Let's say I'm a painter, and I say, okay, well, I'm gonna put myself out there. I'm gonna put my art out there. and we put it on this like one obscure website. Then not many people are going to notice it. And maybe I like put my art in the window one day, but then I took it out. And then I was like, but see, look, I'm putting my art out there. But what it's telling the universe is I still don't want people to see that art, my paintings. I'm still scared of people like looking at it and what they're going to think of me as an artist and what they're going to think of my actual art. So I'm putting it out there in controlled ways that I feel like I control how people perceive it. I control the outcome. And she said that a total revealing of oneself is when you relinquish the control of how others are going to perceive you, because that's the illusion. You never had control of their perception in the first place. Maybe we think, I put my big old canvas on this obscure website that controlled who could see it. Maybe, but what if somebody shared that website? What if it got shared on a popular website? We couldn't control that, and we couldn't even conceive that could happen. That's all beyond the ego's perception. And then, what if I put it in the window and then I said, well, and I took it away right away. I think only 5 people saw it, but really, it's the act of creating that already put it out into the collective consciousness. So why would we feel that we could control that? And she says there's still a lot of this control over who can see you, basically the real you might say, that aspect of you. And she says, so when we're still in a quasi hiding, but also trying to sort of show but control how people perceive me, that's creating conflicting results, so that when we don't get the results that we want, we could fall back and say, well, I put myself out there, it didn't work, okay. She says, but that's just the ego's way of trying to protect itself once again by saying, well, see, I tried, it didn't work. So she says, not to say that if you're not ready, don't, just, be like, ha, 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 this is me, 1111. If you're not ready for that, you're not ready for that. But she says, just take a look at why, instead of like half-heartedly putting yourself out there. Just maybe look at the why, and then when you're ready, you're ready. If you're not, you're not. She says, but there's no good or bad. It's just all trying to understand. I will pull a card though as well. Sorry, just going down here. Okay. Ooh, meditation. Okay, so, and I know that you probably, do meditation, you're tapping in and stuff like that. But during your next tap in, she's just asking you to, again, just like with our friend Shadowlands, where, if she has worry, then she's going to have something to worry about. If she has anxiety, she's going to have something to be anxious about as she goes to her doctor's appointment. So same thing for you, in whatever way that you are expressing yourself or showing yourself. What are the anxieties attached to it? What are the worries attached to it? Where are they actually stemming from? If you're still working on it and you feel that you're not ready, but you also feel like, oh, I'm behind, I got FOMO, I'm missing out, then where is also that coming from? Because everything is in due time. It doesn't matter how old, how young we are, everything in due time. So she says this is just a time to look at where any conflicting energy might be happening. It's like, I want to do this, but I'm also wanting to control the outcome. And I'm also like kind of maybe not ready. And she says, again, if you're not ready, you're not ready. Nothing wrong with that, but taking a look at why you feel that way. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Thank you, 1111, for allowing me to tap into Rebecca's energy and to pull you a card. Thank you. Shadowland says, interesting you bring up melanoma. My doctor visit is to the dermatologist tomorrow. I'm more confused about something they said when I tried to call them back to set up an appointment for my new general practitioner. Okay. So again, like what your higher self was saying, is that there's actually nothing to worry about. Like in the grand scheme of things, like we really don't have any worries. But if this worry is coming up, like confusion over what they said about your skin, this being the dermatologist, What is your fear when it comes to your skin? What is your worry when it comes to your skin? Let's take out what they may or may not have said. What is your deepest worry about it? And when you get to the bottom of that, and to the bottom of that, and to the bottom of that, and to the bottom of that, whatever may or may not be on your skin isn't going to need to show itself, because you're already getting to the bottom of it, deeper than any laser or scalpel could ever go. So if, let's say you show up tomorrow and they say, oh, you got a weird little mole there or something like that, weird little mole. Instead of saying, oh no, it's out of my hands, I got a weird little mole on my skin. Remember that body is just a representation of your energetic self. And right now your energetic self is a little, yes, don't be a worry wart. Exactly, like succinctly said. But if we're worried about that, we're going to put more energy into that weird mole and make it worse with worry, than if we figure out, okay, what's my body trying to tell me then? I have full control over understanding my body. I have full control over understanding my emotions and my energy. I know how to get to the bottom of things, and you can get to the bottom of it, and then all of a sudden that mole isn't a problem anymore. All of a sudden, just like magic, it disappeared. But that's how our body speaks to us. It's how our emotions speak to us. It's how our energy speaks to us. So again, if we're worried about what they said, we're not actually worried about exactly what they said, but we do have worry about a doctor saying anything about our skin. So where is that actually coming from? And then go deeper, go deeper, go deeper. So I hope that makes sense. All right, you guys. So if there aren't any more super chats or super stickers, I say let's let's go into a channel guided meditation utilizing Independence Day energy, America's Independence Day energy. Not sure how that would turn out. I would just like kind of throw that out to my higher self, like, hey. So, okay. Thank you to everybody who allowed me to read for them. Thank you to everybody who voted on the channeling of America's independence and becoming the America that we have, becoming this nation. Thank you for allowing me to channel that and holding space for that. Like I said, I will single out that video and I will put that out tomorrow. Thank you to everybody who pulled cards along with us at the beginning of the chat for our Star-Spangled Spread that we had. Thank you. Shadowland says, no, I haven't seen them yet. The confusion is about a medication that I wasn't prescribed. And that, again, if we might feel like a little worried that they've given us some medication, we haven't really like talked about it. When you do go in there, instead of having the worry that like, oh my gosh, they gave me something, this must mean that something's wrong. Like I said, work on that first before you go in there. And then that way you feel more confident being like, hey, you guys gave me this medication. We had not discussed anything about this. Please, let's discuss it. And they might say, oh, well, this, and that. But now we can take in the information and listen to what they have to say without the fear of like, oh my gosh, something is wrong. Otherwise, they wouldn't have given me this medication. You see how there's two different energies walking to that doctor's office. One is like, oh my gosh, they gave me this thing. I don't know. There's something wrong. They need to explain themselves. Two, wow, I don't know why they gave me this medication. That's weird. Let me have a chit chat with them. So it's just two different energies. Your higher self is just hoping that, just wanting you really to, and again, I can't really tell you what to do, but just wanting you to be a little bit more grounded and free and open to whatever's said so that you could have a nice, clear conversation rather than one that's based in like confusion and worry is what they're trying to say. Okay, so not worried about the appointment tomorrow, then that is the energy you want to keep going in there tomorrow is, I'm not worried. I'm just curious about this medication. Let's have a little chit chat about it. So stay with it. There's nothing to be worried about. So you're right. Keep on that track. All right. Mikey B is here. So how's it going, y'all? It's going good. How are you, my friend? 1111 said, thank you. You are very welcome. You're very, very welcome. Okay. So let's have a little bit of water and let's do a channeled guided meditation. Let's go get our healing on. Okay, I'm going to move out of the way so you guys get a better point of view here. Oh, look, you can see hikers out on the trail. Wonderful. Sorry, that's just my hair. Oh. Okay. All right, you guys. Go ahead and get yourselves into a nice, comfortable space. A place you'll be undisturbed for the next several minutes. You could be laying in your bed, sitting in a chair, laying underneath your favorite tree. And as you get yourself nice and situated, go ahead and bring your awareness to your breath. Feeling the rise and fall of your chest. Noticing where we feel that breath, where we feel those exhales. Is our breathing slow? Is it fast? Is it deep? Is it shallow? Analyzing or placing any judgment, just noticing. But what we're going to do now is we're going to take some calming and relaxing breaths, intentional breathing. We're going to breathe in for a count of 4, and we're going to exhale for a count of 5, making sure that those exhales are longer than our inhales, helping to slow down and calm that nervous system. So let's breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, hold, 2, 3, 4, and continue breathing in this way. Inhaling, holding on to that beautiful breath, and then releasing it long and slow. Then holding it once again in that stillness before repeating the process. And with every inhale, feeling invigorated from our head down to our tippy toes, feeling it in our fingertips and our shoulders, everywhere. And with every exhale, feeling peace moving down from our head to our jaw, down our neck and our shoulders. Feeling those exhales in our abdomen and our hips, down the legs and our calves, maybe even feeling the feet move away from one another. Feeling yourself totally grounding into Mama Gaia while feeling that beautiful life force energy with every inhale. Continue breathing in this manner. Calm, peaceful. And now I want you to imagine that you are seated at your kitchen table. And in front of you is a bowl of alphabet soup. It's a red tomato soup with the pasta shaped in the form of letters. And sometimes those pasta letters create words in our soup. So I want you to take your spoon that you find next to your bowl, and we're going to place it in our soup, stirring it clockwise. Give it a nice stir. Inhale the delicious smell of your alphabet soup, that tomatoey smell. But we're going to ask our bowl of soup something. Our bowl of soup that really is just an extension of ourselves. Where do you feel most free in your life? Allow the words to appear in your bowl of soup. And allow yourself to sit with it. Not analyzing it, not judging it. We will remember it after this meditation. We'll have all the time in the world to write it down. But for now, just noticing what the words say. And if you'd like, you can give your bowl another stir when you're ready to ask it another question. Do you feel free to speak your mind? Do you feel free to speak what's in your heart? Allow the words to reveal themselves to you in your bowl of soup. Again, just noticing. And go ahead and give your bowl another stir. Do you feel free to live as you wish within your home, within your state, within your country? And then we also ask it why. Allow those words to appear. When you're ready, go ahead and give your bowl another stir. And asking it, do you feel safe? Ask it why or why not. And again, we're not analyzing at this point or judging. We will have time to journal after your meditation. Give it another little stir. We have one more question for our bowl of soup. Of course, acknowledging that you can come back to this bowl of alphabet soup anytime you wish. What is at the core of all of my fears? Allow the words to surface. And if you wish, when you feel ready, you can excuse yourself from the table, or you can drink your alphabet soup. It's totally up to you. But thank yourself for coming to the table at this time, asking yourself these questions, and allowing whatever answers they are to come forth. And when you feel ready, go ahead and wiggle your fingers and toes. Have yourself a little stretch. Ooh. All right, you guys. Whew. Let me get back here. Hey, thank you guys for joining me in that guided meditation. Wasn't quite sure where we were going to go on that one, but thank you guys for joining me on that. Let me look here. Silver Star says, I do have to go. I hope you all have a beautiful week. See you next time. All my love, I bid you adieu. Have a good one. Have a great time, a good weekend, Silver Star. And for you guys, I hope you have a beautiful Sunday, rest of your Sunday. I hope that you guys have a fabulous week. If you are here in the States and that you will be celebrating Independence Day, I hope that you have a fun Independence Day. And, you know, it's also a wonderful day for some self-reflection. I will be doing a bit of journaling that day as well, and perhaps leading up to it. But thank you guys so much for joining me. Thank you for the votes, voting for that channeling of America's independence. And like I said, I will section out that portion of our chat and make that a separate video that I will post tomorrow for you guys. John says, so much love all, so much love to you guys. Thank you for pulling cards along with me. Thank you to everybody who allowed me to do a reading for them today. Thank you to my mighty moderators, my subscribers, my live chat homies, YouTube members, Patreon peeps. Thank you all so much. And remember that newsletter is coming out on Tuesday, July 1st. So if you are not subscribed to my newsletter, the link for that is also down below. You can also just go through my website, scroll all the way down, click on newsletter. It's also up in the toolbar. You can see it there as well. Yeah, and I will catch you spiritual homies later. All right, peace, love, and chicken grease. Peace out.